So my main story is that we need to be more thoughtful about how we manage and lead big companies, because a lot of the kind of classical ways of working are based on old, outdated ideas about bureaucratic control, or ideas about paying people for performance rather than trying to get the best out of people, and so forth. And those assumptions worked very well 100 years ago, but increasingly, of course, we're moving into an era where there's much more scope for individual freedom, there's much more opportunities through internet-based technologies to collaborate without control. And my suggestion is that we need to experiment more with the way that we manage in order to sort of harness these technologies for the future. So a lot of these technologies, of course, are enabling collaboration with people that you are not physically in touch with. And when we look at big open source software companies, for example, these are companies with organizations with thousands of people who have never met each other, who live many, many thousands of miles apart. And these technologies are enabling them to work in shared spaces, to collaborate through what you might call kind of mutual adjustment rather than through sort of formal rules. And they are creating successful products and services as a result. So my belief is that big organizations can become much more effective at, I would say, having horizontal collaboration between people through technology rather than relying on the traditional vertical chains of command. So that's one method, probably the most useful. So experimentation says, I have an idea about doing things differently. I don't know if it'll work. And it's kind of risky to roll it out without trying it first. So an experiment is a boxed project, a project where we have a hypothesis going in about if we change something, we will see an interesting result, and we deliberately measure that result and we establish whether it works or not. So I've seen companies try giving their employees much more time, much more space to innovate. I've seen them trying to change the way that they're compensated for sales, the way that they are doing their expense claims reports, the way that they motivate people. And in all these cases, they take a 3 or 6 month window and they try this new way and they measure the outcomes. And if at the end of that 6 months they get the results that they want, then that experiment is something that they can present to their senior executives and say, this is something we should do as an organization as a whole. So that's the concept of experimentation. It's worked very well for many years in drug development and so forth. I'm saying we should apply that same methodology to the world of management. Well, the future of management is not going to be dramatically different to what we've had in the past. I mean, our classical ways of working have been very helpful. They've got us to a very high level of sophistication and productivity. But we have to take what's worked in the past and supplement it with new technologies, new thoughts about how to get the most out of our employees, so that we create essentially a best of both worlds. So, we will use much more technology in the future. We will be working more from home, less in traditional offices. We'll be having more collaborative teams working across functions. We'll have fewer of the traditional committees, much more dynamic teams. These are some of the ways. We will have, fewer kind of formal top-down reviews and more peer reviews of people. These are some of the ways that we'll work differently. I mean, it won't be dramatically different, but it will be more effective and more efficient. So Norway has enormous benefits, because if you look at the basic norms and belief systems in Norway as a country compared to many other countries, you already have a much lower power distance, much more belief in egalitarianism. You are more kind of adaptable, more tolerant of change. You've got less of a kind of masculine, feminine distinction that some countries have. And in fact, in all these dimensions, the Norwegian culture is more, I would say, easily adapted to the future models of management that I've been talking about. So it actually encourages the possibility of experimentation, and it reduces the kind of the threat, if you like, from traditional power bases. So I would expect Norway to be well positioned for the future of management.